Let's discuss this further with Olga Aivazovska in Brussels. She's an elections and parliamentary affairs analyst. Thank you for being with us on the program today. It seems like history is repeating itself here. We saw the same thing happen back in 2014 with Crimea, and Ukrainian officials are calling this referendum illegal. Are there fears that this referendum will lead to borders being redefined?
Hello to everyone. Yeah, it's true, because this pseudo referendum has only one objective: is annexation of the territory, and the story is repeating from Crimea to 2022. According to Ukrainian constitution, there is only one legislation according which we can organize national, wild, or even local referendum, but the legislation about local referendum were not adopted yet. But after the end of this pseudo referendum, which doesn't matter according to international standards and international legislation, Russia is going to annex this territory. Then Russia is going to mobilize Ukrainian men to the Russian army to give them Russian passports under the pressure, and then to use this as the main argument that according to their military doctrine, Russia has a chance to use nuclear weapon against Ukraine. That's why we are calling as civil society and experts in this area that we have to stop the referendum. But how is a huge question. We need to call bigger sanctions against Russia, to give more military supply to Ukraine, and to help Ukraine stop the annexation process on the battlefield.
But do you think that those sanctions would work? Do you think that imposing more sanctions on Russia will stop Putin from following and achieving his goals in the region?
I believe yes, but it depends on economy, because winter is coming and Russia still has enough budget from EU to spend amount of money for weaponization of its own army. That's why sanctions will be useful if EU will stop to have relationship, economical and business relationship with Russia, to cut the budget for war against Ukraine.
Right, and when it comes to the energy crisis, we are seeing prices across the EU increase. They ultimately want to be to cut its energy sources off from Russia. But how realistic do you think that is? Do you think that Europe could be energy independent in the means of not relying on Russia for its energy resources?
Europe became dependent on Russia sources during the last 15 years. Now, as I know, EU has 41% of separate sources for heating during this winter. This winter will be very important for the war in the central part of Europe, and this war will be stopped if EU will stop to pay money to Russian resources.
All right, Olga Aivazovska, thank you so much for joining us here on the NewsHour. It was a pleasure speaking to you.